The union of two enterprises, which are l'Alliance Nationale, created in Montreal in 1892, and l'Industrielle, created in Quebec in 1905, seized the day in 1987. In this short video, I will discuss with you some similarities and differences that we can observe between the knowledge we have learned in our textbook and the reality for Industrielle Alliance, Insurance and Financial Services Inc. To be a little bit more precise, here's what I will look at: the global economy, the technology and quality, and the human capital and talent management, which are all part of the Chapter 1 of our textbook. Then I will go on to Chapter 2, which consists of provincial employment legislation, employment standards, equity, discrimination and harassment, and finally, reasonable accommodation. The second part of the video will be held as a transcribed interview. For Chapter 1, I focused my search on some specific current business issues. Let's start with global economy. The effect of globalization on HR, according to the textbook, is when managers start to go global, they have to balance a complicated set of issues related to different geographies, cultures, laws, and business practices. Although for Industrielle Alliance, this is not a problem since they do not want to go global. They prefer America. In Canada, however, they like to be everywhere. In fact, their headquarters are all around. I'm going to skip the examples because it's going to be too long. Let's mention, though, that they also operate in some part of the United States, such as in Texas or in Phoenix. Although in the year 2000, the company entered the Toronto Stock Exchange. Therefore, it is, since then, influenced by the global economy. And what about technology? Nowadays, everything is on the internet. But how can we make people happy with it? Making any search as easy as it can get. Industrielle Alliance has a great website that provides a ton of information that both customers and future employees would want to know. Now let me ask you a question. How can the company claim it is the fourth best company in its industry? How can they know that? Benchmarking, of course. Surveys, statistical studies, name it. All of that made from the internet. Moreover, Industrielle Alliance makes confidentiality one of its biggest matters. Personal information has to be protected regardless of its characteristic or its form, whether written, graphic, audio, visual, computerized, or any other form, says privacy policy of the Industrielle Alliance Group. Concerning the human capital and talent management, the textbook says, to build a human capital in organizations, managers must begin to develop ways of ensuring superior knowledge, skills, and experience within their workforce and to find ways to distribute this capital throughout the organization. Industrielle Alliance is very concerned with the well-being of their employees. A lot of the company's payroll goes into training for those who want it. Moreover, more than 5,000 employees work for this company, and the 5 values that are spread throughout all of them are the good services aspect, the teamwork, the high performance climate that they want, the reach for the stars, as I call it, which mainly means think big, and finally, individual respect. Now for Chapter 2, the legal framework of HR. As mentioned previously, for this part I interviewed a PFA, planificateur financier avancé. Although he couldn't talk English fluently, and also because it would have been actually too long, I simply summarized and translated his answers to make them short and sweet. First, I will start with the provincial employment legislation. Does Industrielle Alliance provide and respect certain rights and guarantees? Does it cover health and safety? About the answers, we have to be clear about something. There are 2 types of employees: the people working at the head office and the independent workers, such as Benoit. His answer was that for some offices that were not yet safe, for instance an emergency exit, are actually being renovated. As for the food, example, at the head office the cafeteria is healthy. Finally, they all have a group insurance if they are eligible to it. What about employment standards? Is it supposed to cover things such as a certain amount of hours of work, an overtime pay, a vacation pay? At the head office, the line manager and secretary, yes, they do, although the self-employed don't, he says. The equity in an organization is really important. In our textbook, we could see 2 types: the employment equity, which consists of hiring individuals in a fair and obvious manner, and the pay equity, equal pay for work of equal value. Does Industrielle Alliance value the equity? Yes, Industrielle Alliance value a lot equity, and they are really strict about it, said Benoit. So there is no systematic discrimination such as hidden employment barriers. No, he exclaims. Is there discrimination or harassment, whether it is unintentional or intentional? And if yes, does line managers act upon it or just let it go unseen? His answer was that intentionally, of course not. Unintentionally, maybe sometimes it does happen, but if it is known, the line manager makes sure to do something about it. They don't want that in the company. Finally, is there any reasonable accommodation for handicapped people that would want to work there, for instance, people in a wheelchair? Some of the small agencies do not because they are in rented offices, but at the office they definitely do. So here in this organization, since most employees are working for themselves, some employment standards are not necessarily followed, but others are. Overall, Industrielle Alliance reflects for some parts the theory that we have seen in our Essentials of Managing Human Resources textbook, and for some other parts, we can observe small differences between the innate theory and reality.